All right. Hey, everybody. Told you I was going to come back on Sunday and do a movie review, even though, gotta admit, I'm still not feeling like 100%. I do feel a lot better than I did like the last one I did. And I feel a lot better than I did Friday night, last time we streamed, but I still feel a little bit weird. So, please forgive me. I'm sure it's going away. I hope so. Anyway, also forgive, you can probably can't hear it now, but there's just all kind of like sirens and shit like screaming outside. I have no idea what the hell is going on out there, but it's really loud. So I had to wait because they were like taking forever to pass. And I'm just like, oh my god, what the hell is going on out there? It must be like a big accident or a fire or something. I don't know what it is, but it's crazy. So yeah, so we are going to talk about another horror movie today. This one was another recommendation. Trey says, am I the only watcher? Probably. I only just came on. So, and I never warn people ahead of time. Like, sometimes I'll say, like I said Friday night, I said, oh, I watched a movie, so I'll probably do a review of it on Sunday, but I don't ever have any, like, idea when I'm going to be able to do it. You know what I mean? So I'm just kind of like, I'll just pop on whenever I can pop on. So, hey, Trey. Hey, Tammy. Hey, what's going on? So this movie today, I feel like one of you guys recommended it in the chat. Although I can't remember, maybe it was on one of our other movie reviews or something like that. And this movie is from 2018, and it's called Await Further Instructions. Now, unlike the movie that was recommended before that I had never even heard of before, which was The Limehouse Golem, this movie, I had actually heard of it, and it actually was on my to-watch list because I don't know if it's on Shudder anymore, but it was, like, for a long time. So I kept seeing it, like, every time I was scrolling through Shudder, and I'm like, man, that kind of looks good. I should probably watch that. Like, it sounded good from the synopsis. But for whatever reason, I just hadn't gotten around to it. So when somebody recommended it, I was like, okay, well, I might as well. Like I said, I don't think it's on Shudder anymore, but it is on a bunch of other free streaming platforms. Like, I watched it on Tubi. I think it's also on Pluto. It might be on Redbox. So it's on a bunch of places where you can watch it for free. And I think whoever recommended it also said that I should do a double feature with The Signal. And that was what I was going to do. I've seen The Signal before, but it was so long ago that I, would need to watch it again, like, to review it. But The Signal didn't seem to be available for free anywhere, and I kind of wanted to get something up. So I was like, you know what? I'll just do that one later on. This one's free. I'm going to watch it, and I haven't seen this one, and I've been wanting to see it, so that's how that worked out. So like I said, this movie came out in 2018, and it's British. And the interesting thing about this is that I decided to review it not knowing that this is actually a Christmas horror movie. So I'm like, oh, well, that worked out really good. I didn't realize that it was, because they don't, if you look at, the title card and stuff like that, it doesn't really look like a Christmas horror movie. There's not Christmas lights or any of that kind of shit on there. But it absolutely does take place at Christmas. So I was like, oh, well, that's good that I'm reviewing it in December then. So, as I mentioned, this is a British film. Now, it starts out as kind of, I guess, what you call like a psychological horror or like psychological drama type thing. And then towards the end, it goes kind of in a Cronenbergian direction, I want to say. It's kind of sci-fi. So just know that going in. Like, it kind of looks sci-fi-y it's not like hard sci-fi or anything, but it is kind of sci-fi-ish, Cronenbergian, body horror-ish, like, toward the end. You know what I mean? Okay, so it goes that way. Like, I don't want to spoil it because it's not that old, but just know it's not going to be, like, a whole drama the whole way in. And it does have, like, supernatural, sort of-ish, so it's not, like, killers or anything like that. So this was written by Gavin Williams and directed by Johnny Kevorkian, who I don't know what else he did. I thought I read somewhere that he had passed away, but I'm not entirely sure about that. This seems to be like his best known movie. So this movie seems like it was fairly low budget. That's not a ding against it. I'm just saying, it's obviously like an indie movie, but pretty high concept for all that. And I feel like if you're into something like Black Mirror, this is kind of like a Black Mirror type situation. Or if you liked real, like, ambitious, one location high concept sci-fi-ish kind of movies, like something like Coherence, which I think I've talked about before, which is great if you haven't seen that, which took place pretty much all in one house, but was, like I said, really high concept. This is kind of a similar vibe. It's not exactly the same, but it's kind of in the same ballpark, you know what I mean? So if you liked Coherence, if you like Black Mirror, if you like stuff like that, then you would probably dig this. So here's the setup. You have your main character, I guess, who's kind of like this kind of 20-something guy named Nick. And he's bringing his new-ish girlfriend, Angie, back to his family home for Christmas. Now, it's pretty obvious from the way he's, like, reacting to everything that Nick was not a fan of this idea, like, coming back to see his family. And pretty much only went along with it because Angie pretty much insisted that she wanted to meet his relatives. Like, it's kind of implied, I guess, that they've been going out for a while, maybe a year or two or whatever. And, she's like, oh, I want to meet your family. I want to see where you come from and stuff. And he's just like, really? Do we have to? And he's like, okay, fine. And we find out later, actually, that Nick has not spoken to his family at all for 3 years. And after we meet them, it becomes pretty apparent why that is. And you can't really, like, fucking blame the dude either, yeah, I'm gonna say. So, Nick's mom, Beth, who answers the door, she mostly seems okay. She's a little bit mousy, a little bit of a doormat, submissive type. But his dad, Tony, is a real piece of work. He's kind of one of those he's very, very conservative, very religious, very rigid, very arrogant, kind of one of those my way or the highway type people who's like always right and thinks everybody else is a weak ass pansy, like one of those kind of people. And he kind of makes a lot of comments to that effect, like toward his son, like that he thinks he's weak or whatever. And then when we meet Gramps, Grandpa, Granddad, whatever you want to call him, I think they usually call him Gramps, we can see where the dad got it from. You know what I mean? Because, yeah, great. He's just a chip off the old block. Because Gramps is even worse, if that's possible. He's just like this nasty old codger, sitting in his chair in front of the TV, like grumbling at everything, like old man yelling at a cloud. You know what I mean? And he's also gets on his son's case, who's Tony, the dad, about being, oh, you're only an office manager. I was in the military police and I'm a badass and all this other stuff. And you're only an office manager. And he calls him, what's his nickname for him? Squelcher. And you find out why that is later on. So it's real denigrating, obviously. So there's that. And he goes into, he gets real racist as well, like Grandpa does. And, Britain used to be great before all these dirty foreigners came in and blah, blah, blah. So it's basically, this is like the British Christmas equivalent of like Thanksgiving dinner with that one Fox News watching uncle that nobody wants to hang with. It's kind of that type of situation. But kind of like, I was going to say it's exaggerated, but not really, because my grandpa was kind of like that too. So it's like, it's not really outside of the realms of possibility. That's what I'm saying. Hey, Unforeseen, what's up? This film did a great job of showing what it's like to have a difficult family relationship. Oh yeah, big time. And like I said, I think some reviews I read of it said that they thought that some of the characters were exaggerated. I did not think so. Because I've known people like that, so it didn't seem exaggerated to me at all. Like some of the crazy shit they said wasn't crazy. It was just because I've heard people say that. So especially like Grandpa, because I was like, kind of sounds like my grandpa. My grandpa said worse shit than that. So you know what I mean? It was that kind of shit. So you already have this situation going on, and you can tell like from the get-go, it's like super, super awkward. So you have all of these awkward moments. Gramps can't really seem to help himself, like sharing his bigoted opinions about everything, and particularly in front of Angie, who he seems to think is Middle Eastern, even though she's clearly Indian, and she's British too. I mean, so I assume her parents were Indian or whatever, but it's just like, she's British. So that's kind of all going on. And then Nick also has this sister named Kate, who is super, super pregnant, and she shows up with her kind of muscle-bound chunk head of a husband whose name is Scott. And these two are also pretty shitty, in a vaguely lower key way. But they're both also like complete idiots. Like one of the scenes that made me laugh the most was they're all playing. I guess they're all playing Scrabble or whatever. And Angie, the Indian girlfriend, she put down the word tumult, and the sister Kate, she's like, "That's not a real word," you know what I mean? And she's like, "Yeah, it is a real word. Do you want me to get the dictionary again?" She's like, "Yeah, but you have to use English words. That's an Indian word." You know what I mean? So it's just like, so these two are like real morons. You know what I mean? So it's that kind of thing. But yeah, that really made me laugh, because I have played Scrabble with people who thought you were making words up because their vocabulary wasn't very large. So I kind of thought that was funny too. So yeah. So the first part of the movie, really kind of like, I want to say the first, I don't know if it's the first half of the movie, but the first third to the first half of the movie is just kind of this horribly uncomfortable family gathering, just kind of getting more and more cringeworthy. And after kind of, they aren't even there that long, but Nick and Angie realize, look, we don't want to take any more of this. This is like, it's the fucking holiday. We don't need this bullshit. So let's get the fuck out of here. You can't blame them, obviously, because I also would have been like, yeah, bye, I'm going home. The mom, Beth, though, she persuades him to stay. She's like, I'm so sorry that everyone is being an asshole, and she's just trying to desperately make everybody get along, like for the sake of the holiday, like moms do. So Nick and Angie are kind of grudgingly agree. They're like, okay, if you insist, we'll do it for you, Mom. But later on, like, they go up to the room to kind of put their stuff away. And then Nick tells Angie, she's like, well, basically tomorrow morning, we're just going to get up super, super early before everybody else gets up, and we're going to get the fuck out of here. We're just going to sneak out so we don't have to, like, confront anybody, which, like I said, you can't really blame them. So before dawn, it's still dark out, and they kind of get set up to do the shot. Just that. They pack all their stuff up and they kind of sneak down the stairs. But at this point, they run into a little bit of a snag. It seems that sometime during the night while everyone was sleeping, the house has been completely encased in some type of like impenetrable black barrier. Like, they open the door and they can't get out, and all the windows and everything like that. And then later on, like, Nick goes up to the attic and sees that seems to like cover the whole house, right? Like another layer of like something. And it's black and it kind of looks like corrugated, you know what I mean? But it's like super hard and you can't get through it. Like, he tries to get through with a hammer and shit like that, and you can't. So there's no way to get out. The TV in the house has also kind of started displaying this ominous message on it, and it's just kind of in this plain, like a VHS looking font, like on this kind of greenish black plain screen or whatever, and it says, "Stay inside and await further instructions." That's all it says. So as soon as the rest of the family members get up and see what's going on, I mean, obviously the dad, he wants to take charge because he's one of those motherfuckers, and he's like, oh, well, there has to be some explanation. Like, why can't you just bust out the barrier, like, you weak ass pansy, or whatever? But obviously, like, he tries to do it and you can't do it because you can't get out. So they're all trying to figure out what's going on. And again, Tony, the dad, because he knows everything, he insists, well, what it must be, I know what it is. It must have been a terrorist attack, because earlier they were watching some stuff on the news about like some weird power outages or something like that. It's like, oh, it's some kind of terrorist attack, and we've been quarantined inside the house, like for our own safety or whatever. And he also seems unshakably certain that whoever is sending them these messages through the TV that says await further instructions must have their best interests at heart. It's probably the government. They're telling us this to keep us safe. And so therefore any messages that appear should be obeyed without question. Nick and Angie, wisely, are not so sure about that. It's like, I'm not sure we're down with following whatever that's going to say. But everybody else seems kind of cowed by Tony, I guess. And they're just kind of like eager to follow his lead. I guess they're just so used to him taking charge that they're just kind of like, okay, we'll just do whatever you say. You know what I mean? Now, for a little while, nothing significant happens. So, and the message just kind of stays there. So Tony, the dad, he just demands that they all sit down. We're going to have our Christmas dinner like normal, pretend everything's normal, because there's really nothing else we can do. You know what I mean? But just before they start eating, the message on the TV changes. And then it tells them, all your food is contaminated, eat nothing. That's what it says. Now, Nick and Angie think this is like the stupidest shit ever, and they don't believe it. They're like, somebody's fucking with us. Come on. It's like, how could anybody know that possibly? But Tony is, like I said, he just thinks anything that comes up on that TV, we have to follow it for our own safety or whatever. So he just immediately like gathers up all the food. And it was a big Christmas dinner, a turkey and all the stuff. And he just gathers it all up and throws it in the garbage because it's supposedly like contaminated. And he's like, okay, well, so now we can't eat anything that was out. Like, so the only thing they can drink, I guess, is like bottled water. And if they had like any wrapped protein bars or something like that. So they have to like just eat that because apparently all the food in the house is contaminated too. So I'm like, okay. And then like Scott, the brother-in-law or whoever, and he's just sitting there going, oh, you can go a long time without food, blah, blah, blah. But they guess like the bottled water is okay. So from that point forward, the messages on the TV and like in weird incidents that happen, they kind of start getting more bizarre. Like the TV tells them about this vaccine protocol, and then it drops a bag of used syringes, like down the chimney, full of God knows what. They don't know what it is. And they're all supposed to inject themselves with it. Now, obviously, like Angie, who is a nurse, she's like, these are used and we don't know what's in there. Like, we probably shouldn't just do it. You know what I mean? But Tony's like, no, we have to do this, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, okay, if you're going to be a baby about it, then we'll soak him in alcohol at least there. You happy now? It's that kind of shit. And Nick and Angie don't really want to do it, but they sort of get shanghaied into it, I guess, because everyone else does it, and I think they're starting to get to a point where they're like afraid that something's going to happen to them, like if they don't go along with the crowd or whatever. So the TV also later tells them that there's contamination in the air and that they should scrub themselves with bleach. So they do that. It later tells them that one of their number, doesn't tell them which one it is infected and should be isolated from the others, like should be quarantined. So because Angie is the new person and also a quote unquote foreigner, they're like, yeah, we're just going to lock her up in a bedroom or whatever. So, it's nice. So with each new message, it seems more and more evident to you watching it that somebody, and you don't know who it is maybe experimenting on this family, like to see how far they'll go to follow orders, even when those orders are like clearly ridiculous or harmful or whatever. I should note, if you're paying attention, because I don't know if they make a huge deal out of this, but they do mention it mention a couple times. But the family's last name is Milgram, which should kind of clue you in. And I believe too that the street that they live on is called Stanford, so that would be a reference to the Stanford prison experiment. And just like Milgram would be a reference to the Milgram experiment, the one where they had people shock people. People in doctor's coats or whatever would tell people to shock people, and most people would just do it because it was told them by an authority figure. So that's kind of the direction they're going with it. Like I said, they don't hit too hard with that, but I did notice that was the family's last name. And I was like, oh, I see what you did there. Okay. So I kind of see what you're trying to do. Now, not surprisingly, because this family was super dysfunctional, like to start with, they kind of start to, well, not even kind of, they absolutely start to turn on each other as the, instructions on the TV like start getting farther and farther out there. And shit starts getting like crazier and a lot more violent. So, and to me, this was like the best part. I mean, I really liked this movie a lot. I was just riveted like the whole time. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? You know what I mean? Because for a long time, you're not entirely sure who it is that's fucking with this family, or why they're fucking with this family, or is it just this family? Is it everywhere? Like, what's going on? You don't know because they can't get out. You know what I mean? They're in the house. All they know is like they're closed in this house and the TV's telling them to do shit. You know what I mean? So they don't know if it's terrorists. They don't know if it's aliens. They don't know what the fuck is going on. and you don't know either. So it's actually like kind of cool because you're just like, somebody's experimenting with these people, like to see if they're like at each other's throats because they were so shitty to each other before. And that's kind of what ends up happening. Like they just go at each other's throats. Now, as I said, I'm not going to spoil the ending, but I will tell you that it's probably not exactly what you're expecting. And that could be good or bad, like depending on how it's like. I really liked the ending, and the resolution of like what it was that was doing this. But you know, I saw some people were kind of like, they liked the build up and not so much the ending. But I really liked the ending. But like I said, it might not be what you're imagining. Is like I said, because it's a little weird, strange, not really that weird, but it does kind of like build up to that. But you know what I mean? And I think some people maybe were confused by it, like they didn't really get what the meaning behind it was. I wasn't confused by it. I got the meaning, but like I didn't think it was that complicated to figure out. But I'm just putting that out there, like, you know, because this is a fairly high concept movie, and I think it's either gonna work for you or it's not gonna work for you. But I really did like the ending, and I thought it was it's so weird and it's so grotesque. The concept, it's a little on the nose, I will say that, but that didn't bother me in the slightest because I just thought it was kind of a cool idea, like the way they went with it. So I'm going to say, I mean, for a fairly low budget movie with a really limited cast, there's only like a handful of actors and a single location. This all takes place inside one house. This was pretty damn impressive, I have to say. The acting's great. The special effects looked great. I thought the look of it was really cool. It's very dark and very teal. And then it had kind of all the Christmas stuff, like Christmas lights and stuff kind of accentuating it. And I thought that looked really cool. But yeah, I really liked the effects, like especially toward the end. And, you know, the premise was weird and it just like kept you guessing the whole time. And the movie's also, it's like a really good examination of the kind of the pitfalls of blindly following orders. Like I said, that's why they reference the Milgram experiment, because that's what that was testing also. You know, obedience. Also kind of making a statement on the sway that media holds over people's minds. And, you know, to a lesser extent, the tragic shit that ensues when you have one domineering motherfucker who has to be in control at all times and won't listen to anyone else's ideas, even when he's clearly wrong. You know what I mean? And how that can go way off the rails, which it does in this, big time. And I think anyone who's had to like sit through just painful family gatherings with relatives who are just really unpleasant and just can't keep their mouths shut about stuff because they can't help themselves. I think you should like really relate hard to this movie. Maybe you don't want to watch it. Maybe it might be kind of triggering. I don't really know, but it might make you feel kind of better. You know what I mean? You watch it like around Christmas time. You're like, well, at least my family's not as fucked up as these people. You know what I mean? So it might, you know, your mileage may vary on that. I'm not really sure. And like I said, I do kind of feel like some other reviews of it I read thought that particularly the Tony character, the dad, and Gramps were a little bit exaggerated. I didn't find that because, like I said, I've had relatives like that. I've known people like that said those very things and worse than that. So that they did not seem exaggerated to me in the slightest. So, like I said, maybe it seems exaggerated, but I don't think it is. So yeah, I'm going to say if you're into like conceptual sci-fi that's kind of more confined, like to one area. It's like I said, it's not hard sci-fi or anything like that. It's kind of sci-fi tinged, let's put it that way. And it all takes place in one location. Then you would probably dig this. And like I said, it's kind of Black Mirror-y. It gives me like a Black Mirror type of vibe, something like that. Now, like I said, it used to be on Shudder. I'm pretty sure it's not anymore. But I think, at least as of this live stream, which if you're watching this later, it's December 10th, 19, what the fuck century am I in? 2023. Getting old. It sucks. But yeah, I'm in last century. I don't even know what fucking century it is anymore. But yeah, so December 10th, 2023 is what I meant to say. You can actually watch it for free on Tubi, which is where I watched it. I think it's also on Pluto, Redbox, and I think also the Roku channel has it for free. So it's everywhere. You can see it. And like I said, it's a Christmas movie. So if you're looking for a Christmas horror that you maybe haven't seen before, I feel like this one doesn't get brought up in when people are talking about Christmas horror, and which is probably why I didn't know it was a Christmas horror before I watched it. But I was like really happy to find that out, because I was like, oh well, I'm reviewing it in December, so how timely. All right, but yeah, so it's a cool movie. Check it out. Hey everybody, hey Leslie. It's a cool movie like the Irish Isolation 2005 and the UK Host 2020. I've actually reviewed Isolation not too long ago. How long ago was that? I feel like I did a video on that just like a few months ago. That was actually really good. And I didn't know anything about that movie. The only reason I picked it, I saw it on Shudder, and I was like, Sean Harris was in it, and what's her name from the Babadook? She was in it, and so I was like, oh, that kind of looks pretty good. Like, I liked the cast. I didn't really know what it was about or anything like that, and it ended up being really good. Like, I think I said in that review that it's sort of like, I want to say it's sort of like an eco horror, but like a 70s eco horror, but modernized and not cheesy. You know what I mean? But I really liked it. I thought it was really good. Yeah, it's always the imaginative and creative British horror. Yeah, I love British horror movies. They tend to be really good. Just give us the spoilers, Jenny. What's keeping them in the house? A monster creature. Kind of. It's not, I don't know. Would I call it a monster? It's hard to explain. Okay, it's like a conceptual monster. Kind of. That sounds, what is it? That sounds dumb. I don't really know. It's not exactly a monster, but it's kind of a monster. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's kind of like, sorry, Tom just showed up and said, great rack. Aw. Thank you, honey. He's spying on me again. What is that little emoji? Is that little, I can't see that good. Is it a little heart with, does it have hands or is it clouds? I can't see. I'm so fucking blind, even with glasses on. But yeah, you're pretty hilarious, Tom. Yeah, Leslie said, I like when the cable uses them as puppets. Yeah, that's kind of a, all right, that's kind of like a spoiler. Okay, spoiler. It ends up that if you don't want to know what happens, because you know Danny asked, so I'm gonna tell you. And Leslie kind of said something about it too, so I'm just gonna say, okay, I guess people don't care. You know what I mean? It ends up that what the monster is, it's basically like, it's like all the cables and stuff like from the TV and stuff kind of came to life, kind of. So, but it's almost like they don't say if it's interdimensional or if it's an alien or whatever, but it's just like at one point, like Angie, she's up in one of the bedrooms and she finds an old TV set and like she pulls the back of the TV set off, and because it's doing weird shit like when it's not plugged in, and there's like living kind of creatures in there. Like I said, it's kind of like Videodrome. I think somebody mentioned Videodrome earlier, but it's basically like media, but like physical media, like cables and stuff, but like come to life. Like it's almost kind of like morphed into a creature of some kind. And yeah, it can actually come out the TV and like make people into puppets and stuff like that. It looks really cool, actually. I thought it was like a really good concept. But like I said, the concept of it, when I said it's kind of on the nose, it's basically, you know, physical media has come to life and is like taking you over and like puppeting you. So they're kind of making a statement about media controlling people is what it is. But, you know, it's not super heavy-handed about it. And like I said, I thought it looked pretty cool. Because even the stuff that is surrounding the house, like outside the house, you don't really know what it is at first. Like I said, it kind of just looks like black, like corrugated metal or something. But then later on, as you realize, like all these cables kind of come out like snaky and everything like that and kind of twist themselves together like into configurations, you can see that everything like surrounding the house is just cables like really, really close together, like making a barrier. You know what I mean? It's like that. It's like that. Oh, it's a happy heart. Yeah, he's amazed. Aw. Oh, Tom said, I may go to the garage and install that bike battery. Will make noise. Okay. Well, I was almost done anyway. So you could do that in a few minutes. It's okay. He's gonna get out of the garage and make noise. So he's warning me. Because, yeah, I mean, you guys know, like, my office is right above the garage. So if anybody opens the garage door, if anybody, like, starts up the bike or anything like that, it's gonna be really noisy in here. It's gonna be really noisy. But, yeah. And Unforeseen said, shame that the director passed away. Yeah, I thought he had. I'd have to, like, check again, but I thought I read a review that said that he had passed away. And I think this is kind of the main movie that he made, you know what I mean? But yeah, so I guess Tom's going to go work on his motorcycle. So I better wrap this up because otherwise it's going to be really loud and I'm not going to be able to hear myself. So yeah, so thanks everybody for dropping by, talking about this Christmas horror movie. Like I said, seems like some of you have seen it, so that's, like, pretty cool. But if you haven't, it's a good Christmas horror movie. And like I said, maybe make you feel better about your terrible family. So make you feel like not so bad, because this family is just all kind of crazy, horrible shit happens, and they just say all kinds of terrible things. So yeah, again, thanks for coming by. We will be back tomorrow night, both of us talking about a movie. We're doing kind of a weird one tomorrow night. This one was actually Tom's recommendation. I had never seen it. It came out in the 90s, even though it's, like, right up my alley. I don't know how I missed it. But he actually saw it a long time ago. It was one of his ex-wife's favorite movies, and he couldn't believe that I had never seen it. He's like, because this is so you. I can't believe that you have never seen it. So we watched it the other night. And it's not the type of movie we would usually do, I guess. And it's not usually the type of movie that Tom would like, but he really digs it. And it's called Orlando, and it's from 1993, 1994, something like that. Tilda Swinton is in it. And it's based on a Virginia Woolf novel. So it's weird. It's like, I really liked it. But yeah, we're going to talk about that tomorrow night. So that should be, like, a really good discussion, because Tom really likes that movie. And we, like, had this big long discussion about it, like, afterward. But yeah, that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow night. And then on Wednesday night, our show is going to be about the mythology of dragons. That was what won in the poll this week, so we're excited about that. That should be pretty fun. So yeah, we'll see you guys again tomorrow night. Bye.